and I met Kiana because she was in a leadership workshop that I facilitated a couple of years ago, and we met every month, I guess, for a year after that. And I love her poetry and work. And when I think of Black hair, I think of textured, beautiful. I think of my granddaughters and how I tell them every day when I see them. I don't see them every day, but when I see them, I tell them how beautiful they look and how beautiful their hair is.
I am Bibi Apoljevo with Bellevue College, and I also met Kiana through the leadership. I also direct the program, and I just gravitated to her to her when we first met, and even like every session, I was like looking to sit by her and just learning from her. So, yeah, glad to be here. And hi, Sharon.
Hi, Bibi.
When I think of hair, I think of my mother. When I was a child, a younger child, my mother had a beautiful afro, and I've always wanted to look like her. So when I think of hair, I think of my mom and her doing my hair, and then me progressing to doing my own.
And this is Bibi again. I forgot to say what about hair. When I think of Black hair, I think of the word that comes to mind for me is complicated.
Everybody.
That's so
good.
true. My name is Simone. I was introduced to Kiana, actually virtually through Miss Sharon, who's a friend of my mom's. And I love the topic, and I'm raising 3 sons and a daughter in that order. And hair has always been an interesting topic. When my daughter was 1, I started locking, and I locked for 10 years because I wanted her and my sons to see an alternative type of beauty that wasn't subject to chemical and other kinds of enhancement. I think when I think of Black hair, I think the word diverse. I work in IT, so it's you can see a range of anything, but especially IT is very friendly to hair diversity. I have worn it straight. I've worn it locked. I've worn it with TWA, teeny weeny afro. I've rocked it all different types of ways, and thankfully, although this area can, I live on the East Coast, and it can lend itself to being kind of conservative. Not when it comes to that topic. You can pretty much do what you want to do what you need to do. And so I say diverse about hair.
Thank you. A couple more people. Yep. Hi, Leslie. We're just saying our name, and one thing that comes to mind when we think of Black hair.
So
I'll jump in. I'm Diane Dobson. I'm the CEO of the Renton Chamber of Commerce. And first of all, thank you very much for being here. And Kiana, thank you very much for sharing your time and talents. The first thing that comes to mind would be to piggyback off of Simone's comment with enhancements. I grew up as a swimmer, and one of my best friends, there were times that she would say to me, I can't swim in today's meet because I just had my hair done. And I never quite understood that growing up, of all of the work that went in to maintaining the way she kept her hair. And so that is the first thing that came to my mind in reflection.
I can go. How's it going, everybody? My name is Anthony Covington, the Dean of Student Success at Renton Technical College. I've had the pleasure of working with Kiana for several years now at RTC. Absolutely love, appreciate, and value everything she brings, not only to the college, but specifically to the students that she works with day in and day out. And it goes beyond just her classroom, which I think is evident of this session here. First word that pops into mind is beautiful. I also think of versatility. A lot of the, I guess, the 2 first words, and then for myself personally, mine's kind of disappearing. So it's I may be getting rid of mine here in a few years as I start to age a little bit more. But I just thank you for allowing me to kind of be in this space.
Thank you for coming, Anthony. All right. Kyra, did you want to share anything?
Hi, I work with Kiana in the CCP department at RTC as well. And I guess kind of echoing off of what's been said already is beautiful and diverse is what comes to my mind as well. And I'll turn on my camera in just a minute. I'm eating lunch.
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Hello, everyone. So thank you so much for coming, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And then now, I don't believe everyone was here for the very first session. So in the first session, I went over some history of hair stories, and I went over just like the symbolism of what hair meant, not only in the Black culture, but different cultures. And I share from that standpoint as well to connect. Today, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna continue the dialogue, and we're gonna talk about Black hair, the representation of Black hair. It matters, okay? And so why am I doing this project? Many of you know me, you know why, but I'll just go ahead and tell it again. In about 2009, I went natural myself. And so what that means is I stopped relaxing my hair, chemically treating it. I stopped, straightening it. And I said, let me see how my own hair feels, because I saw the Chris Rock documentary on good hair. So I said, let me stop with the creamy crack, and killing myself, and go ahead and just go natural. And so for me, it was a very eye-opening experience. And one thing I noticed about my hair, which is the name of my project, is unyielding. My hair was very unyielding. It did not care. It didn't care about beauty standards. It didn't care about society. It didn't care about anything. All it cared about was it was going to grow strong and resilient. That was its job, to maintain my DNA. So I had to really come to grips with my hair, and it really helped me come to grips with my identity. I do have with a colleague I was in with the Institute, the professional leadership I did, I have an interview for that, and it's on my website. So if you'd like to listen to it, and I just go into depths about like what it means to like even wash our hair, just to give perspective for people who don't know, how long it could take to wash our hair and treat our hair, to manage it, not to damage it, to care for it and love it. It takes time. And our hair, I know my hair is very resilient, and it is unyielding. It's going to grow how it wants to grow. But one reason I'm doing this project is I know for myself, I'm not an expert in this topic. I think everyone who has hair is an expert in hair, right? But Black hair in particular, there's a lot of discrimination. There's a lot of struggle. I know I went through it internally about wearing my hair. Even like this today, I was like, should I wear my hair out? Just little things that I question about my own hair, when other people may not think about that. They might just say, I'm going to brush my hair and go outside, right? But for me, I had to think about, am I going to wear my hair like that, right? Just because sometimes maybe it won't be received, but because of the workshop, of course, right? But when I first went natural, and I went to work on a Friday, on those, days where you could just come casually, I would be very nervous. I had a lot of anxiety about walking into my building without my hair being straightened and showing up. And people wouldn't say anything. They're just like, oh, hey. But I noticed that when I would straighten my hair, oh, you did your hair? Oh, it was like an abundance of, compliments. Right? And so those are some microaggressions, I kind of internalized as well. But this project is near and dear to me because when I started embracing my hair and I decided to go natural, there was like a lot of influx of young girls of color and women who said they were going to go natural as well. And what I started noticing was an interrupting of education, where young girls would come to school with their afro, braids, or locks, and they would be expelled or threatened expulsion because of their hair. This little girl right here, Tiana, this was, I think in 2009, 10, or maybe earlier, but she went to school, a charter school, with her dreadlocks. And she had gone to the school a year before. And over the summer, I think the school changed their grooming policy, and they said she couldn't come back. And she's like 7 because of her dreadlocks. And there was, you know, she was on the news, right? And I think Vanessa Van Dyke was also one of the first little girls I saw as well on the news, who wanted to just wear her natural hair to school. The school said it was a distraction and that she couldn't wear her hair like that. And if she did, they were going to expel her. And it was just like every September, every year, there was so many people or young people being kicked out of school or threatened. And I thought, this is crazy. And I started talking about it and I started to complain, right? And so I wanted to do something. So this is my way of giving back, having a dialogue. So today I want to have a dialogue. I know we started off talking, which is what I want to do, because I want to know what you think about Black hair, what's going on, just internalizing, you know, how have you internalized the messaging about Black hair? But this is why I'm doing the project. And what I like to do is I'm collecting hair stories, poetry. I'm a poet, so I prefer poetry, but I'm also just collecting stories of women, girls, and teens about their love for their hair, or their embracing of their hair, or maybe they have a struggle with their hair. I don't really have a theme per se. I just want to put our voice out there, and I want to give the perspective to educators. I want to take the book to schools. I want to take it to administrators. I want them to know, hey, when you see a young girl or a professional woman who walks into your school or your business, she may have paid $150 for her hair, and maybe it was 6 hours, and this is called a protective style, and she just can't take it down, right? And she shouldn't be expelled or expected to, you know, conform, you know, because this is a part of our culture, and we are American culture, right? Hair is hair. And so I just want to give perspective, and I want to give a voice to our struggle. And I also want to, you know, share with the community as well, you know, what goes on with their hair, because some people don't know. And then some people are also sitting with a lot of pain because of their hair. So my goal is to put together a book and share the stories with the community. Our workshop objectives. So we're going to discuss how negative images of Black hair have impacted, I don't know if I have a typo, but I might, let me see, sorry about that. I got my thing. Impacted society and their views on beauty, learning capabilities, because there's an interruption of education. And I'm not sure, and I don't think they know either, how hair is interrupting anyone's education. You know, work performance. Women have gotten expelled, are fired from their job, or threatened, right? Of losing their job because they've worn their hair in a particular way. And then we have the concept of professionalism. And is wearing your hair naturally professional, right? And who says so? I would love for everyone, if we have time, to write reflectively, write a poem or write a story. We have time for that. So those are some of the objectives that I have for the workshop today. Also, triggers. This topic could trigger, you know, you become upset or maybe have anxiety. But I would love for everyone to listen with an open heart. A lot of these policies and institutional practices were started before we were born. So unless you were born when they started, you know, the companies, or when they started slavery, right, you really didn't have a part in it, right? If you maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable about the topic, you can maybe say, hey, why am I feeling uncomfortable about this? And what can I do to address it, right? Maybe you have some biases you didn't realize. I think we all do, right? But I would love everyone to listen with their open heart and talk about, you know, from your standpoint, your perspective. You know, what do you feel about the topic and how does it affect you? And many of our guests today are educators, right? We have some students here. So this is really great. Now, I'm a poet, so I'm going to read a story today, and I'm going to share some different stories about representation, the lack of it, and how it was internalized by some artists and some professionals. But our guiding questions are, what do you see? What do you notice? What do you hear? What do you remember? And what can you hold, right? So all those can be literal, but they can also be very figurative, right? What do you hold after you hear this message? You know, what does it make you remember? I just talked to my dean, my boss, and she was telling me this long story about her family. Her aunts were Jewish, Orthodox Jewish. And she was telling me about how they used to go to the hair salon for hours and they used to get these elaborate hairstyles. And, you know, she was saying how the workshop that I presented, the first workshop, resonated with her so much. And I was like, really? So it's a really great way to build community as well. So what can you hear? What do you notice? And what do you see? All right. So hair in every culture has symbolism. So every culture has a special significance with hair. In the first session, we talked about the religious aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it. This is, I gotta move this thing around. This is one of my poems about my hair philosophy. When I was young, I remember getting my hair washed. There we go. Mom washed her hair, took that big old towel, dried it, okay? Dried the hair. Then I had to sit under, I call it fire. She had the hot comb. So if you don't know what a hot comb is, it's a comb that's made of metal. She put it on the stove, okay? Not the electric stove, the gas stove, okay? Just visualize a little child sitting in a chair, getting that hot comb in her hair. And I was what the community called tenderheaded. And I still am, which meant any type of touching of my hair, I'm gonna cry. Why are you touching my hair like that? And I would get hit, not with the hot comb, it's not child abuse, it was the plastic one that was next to the hot comb. Okay, so this is my learned hair philosophy. My mother will pull and brush my hair to manipulate it and to keep it in place, as if she were terrified that the strands will fall out of place and the world would label me nappy and unkept. Like that was unheard of. Your hair could not be out of place. You know, whose child are you if your hair is not straight, okay? So that was one of my learned philosophy. So wearing my hair naturally meant, oh my goodness, I had to go outside without my hair being kept. This is a really amazing quote that I found recently by Michaela Angela Davis, who wrote an article for Allure magazine not too long ago. And I can put the link in the box maybe later or email it to everyone. But she talked about protective hairstyles, which are things like braids, locks, cornrows, and twists. And she said, protective styles are the armor Black women have worn for centuries. The hair of Black women can be viewed as a metaphor for our identity and position in society. Our hair is complex, dynamic, historically mistreated, woefully underrepresented, and misunderstood. So just think about that. You can read it while I'm talking, but braids, you know, they're protective hairstyles. A lot of times we have braids for style purposes, but these hairstyles are protective, you know, just to make sure we don't have our hair damaged from too much heat or excessive manipulation. So these are just hairstyles that we have. And when we go out in the public with these hairstyles, they could be deemed unprofessional, they could be deemed ghetto, they could be deemed inappropriate, right? When it's culturally how we wear our hair to maintain it. So I thought that was a really beautiful quote. Now, what made me pick the title for our workshop, Representation, Black Hair Representation Matters, is this particular story here. I'm not sure if you all heard of it, and you can chime in if you have. Tashara Parker, her hair story. And this is the question she asked after this incident. Why does my crown offend you? So we're gonna watch her video, but Tashara Parker wore her hair natural state many times while working as a broadcast journalist. And one of her recent hairstyles struck a chord with viewers. So this is how she wore her hair. She's like an anchor. I believe she's in Texas. And this is how she wore her hair. And people just lost it. They had a huge, this was just a month ago, or a few weeks ago, and people couldn't believe that she was on air this way, right? So I'm gonna play the video. You know what I might need to do though? Sorry, everybody.
You know, we live in a diverse.
I'm gonna pause it really quickly. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. While I'm sharing, well, I'm gonna make sure I put audio on. So I do apologize about that. But does anyone have any comments about has anyone heard of her story? Tashara?
I have not.
It's been 5 days of stress.
Uh-oh.
It's honestly one of the strangest things I've experienced.
Matt Davies told me about his friend Alan White, who went to this step.
Sorry. Let me just make sure I am. There we go. Sharing the sound. Okay, there we go. Okay, hold on. I don't know why I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize, everybody.
That's all right.
There we go.
I will just say, just randomly, when you were talking about being tender-headed, I immediately was like taken back to being a child and my mom brushing out my hair.
Okay, painful. All right, here we go. Here's the video. I'm gonna go ahead and see if it could play.
You know, we live in a diverse world, which means it's a good thing when we scroll through social media or turn on our TVs and see diverse faces, maybe faces that don't look like mine, or maybe diverse hairstyles like black natural hair. The conversation around hair has been changing, and frankly, it's taken too long to get here. Maybe you've noticed my friend and colleague, Tashara Parker, wearing her hair how she wants to wear her hair. So just this week, this post of hers went viral, almost 50,000 likes. It sparked a lot of conversation around natural hair. Now, overwhelmingly, Tashara received a lot of support, but still, as always, there are critics. So before she took some well-deserved time off, Tashara wanted to share a message. Here is her perspective.
Representation matters. Two words that I've heard consistently throughout my life, and more so in the last couple of days, all because of the way I chose to wear my hair to work. Most of the time in its natural state or even in natural hairstyles. This style in particular, this whole bun situation, you see it? It's what caused quite the stir online. Overwhelmingly, many of you saying the style is professional, while some others saying, hey, not so much. Well, here we are at another intersection of black hair and what's considered professional in the workplace or even in schools. The question is, who determines what's professional these days? And why do some people feel like natural black hair and hairstyles are a debatable topic? It's not. From afros to curls to kinks to braids, even straight and anything in between. As black women, we rock it all. The question becomes, why does it even matter how we wear our hair? Why does hairstyle determine our level of professionalism in the workplace? The way hair grows out of your head shouldn't be a trending topic on social media. The style that you wear also shouldn't trigger that type of a reaction. You know, we've seen so many situations where black people are discriminated against because of the way we choose to wear our hair. You remember that Texas teen who was suspended and banned from attending his own graduation because he wouldn't cut his dreadlocks because apparently they were too long, violating a 30-year-old dress code policy at the school. You know, I'm thinking those old, outdated rules should probably be updated at some point, you think? You know, I'm sure many of the rules made up about what's considered professional, whether at school or at work, they weren't made up by a lot of people who look like me. Yet for so long, black people and certainly black women have been forced to shrink themselves and not show up fully in so-called professional settings. Hair discrimination, it has often been a huge issue. In fact, there's even a push at the state and the federal levels to make hair discrimination a crime. It's called the Crown Act. It's a bill that will make it illegal to discriminate based on hair texture and hairstyles in the workplace and in schools. The Texas Black Caucus is also considering it, but currently it has only passed in less than 10 states. It is at the federal level, though. It just recently passed in the House. Now, if it is approved by the Senate and the president, it would apply to all 50 states. You know, it's real sad we need a law just so that we can exist as our natural selves. But here we are. So I guess we'll wait and see how that goes. By the way, if you are one of those people typing on your keyboard about this style not being professional, please help me understand, why does my crown offend you so much? What you may not realize is it takes a level of confidence for Black women to show up fully in all their glory without having to adjust to who's in the room or how they will be perceived once they get there. It is work. So before you decide to offer your little feedback about how someone should wear their hair, I ask that you examine what's really causing you to think such a way. So back to those two words that got us here. Representation matters, and it truly does. So where do we go from here to make sure no one feels as if they aren't represented in the workplace? How do you create spaces that allow your Black employees to show up as themselves fully? And that, my friends, is where the true work begins. It's not hard. It just needs to be done. And for those of you who likely missed the point of all of this, don't get so bothered by appearance that you miss out on what's really important. I'm Tashara Parker. Let's all do better.
All right. All right, thank y'all. Any takeaways? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? What did you notice?
I noticed confidence and beauty.
Okay, nice.
I noticed that there was an unapologetic boldness and a challenge. And I think that's the thing that bothers people who don't look like me. I think when you are a majority culture, you are so attuned to everything being like you and being comfortable with that anything that is not like you challenges you and your disposition. One of the things that I did, two of my children wear locks, my daughter being one of them, and I installed my son's. He is a 6'2.5" strapping young man. His older brother is 6'4", going towards 6'5". Two of my sons are very kind of more conservative with their hair. The one that is the biggest and thickest decides that he wants to wear locks. And I said, you know, when you do that, realize that you're going to draw a certain type of attention. I'm comfortable with it because in this day and age, people who look like all of my sons have been shot and killed doing absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. And I take it as this is his way of being safe and protesting and doing what he wants to do, expressing himself for the very narrow window in life where he can and be safe and be protected. He may not be able to do that at 40. He may not be able to do that at 30, but he can do that at 17 and a half. As far as my own journey, I would always encourage people, and I encourage my kids to embrace not necessarily the whole history of locks, because their different cultures have different kind of perspectives on it. But I do, we are an Afro-Latino family. And one of the things I do encourage them to note is that when Brits came to the islands and saw people, indigenous people in the West, what we call the West Indies, wearing their hair naturally, the first thing they said is, ooh, those dreaded locks. That's where that came from. In our house, we never call them dreads, never, because there's nothing fearful about our hair. And I try to instill that in them. I don't do like a soapbox lecture when I hear like their friends refer to them to dreads or whatever, but I do, if somebody's open to it, I do try to help them understand, no, let's admit, why is it that there has to be some fear component to it? Why can't we just accept that this is an expression of natural hair and embrace it? I think that's kind of the thing behind what she's saying. You know, why is it that I'm coming to work? She knew what she was doing. She knew she was going to get fired for it, but she's trying to challenge something.
Yeah. But thank you. I do appreciate it. I want to give you more time to chat. I just want to go through a couple more things, but I do appreciate it. Now, Simone, I know you got a hair story in you. I can tell you got a poem in you, a story you're going to share from my book. Yes, I say you blink. Can everyone see the screen? I'm not sure how to get back out of this section, but can everyone see the screen? Is it good? thank you all for sharing. Let me see. This is the book I wanted to share. Let me just go. I want to make sure I'm able to. We have about 20 minutes left. I do want to share. Okay, I'm going to share the story. And then there is a story I also want to share. So I have a lot of things to share. So this is a book. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Thumbs up if you can see it. It's called I Don't Touch My Hair. And so this is a theme. I never really had an issue with people asking me to touch my hair, but I know people have. I've heard people ask other people, can they touch their hair? And it's like you become offended, right? I've heard people say it makes them feel like a puppy or like they don't own their own body. So this, Cherie Miller wrote this story, right? Representation, having books of people of color. She wrote this book for a little girl with big, beautiful hair. And the theme is don't touch it, right? So while I'm reading it, I want you to think to yourself, are there any micro or macroaggressions, right? Also, what do you see? What do you notice? What do you hear? What can you hold? Okay, so I'm Aria, and this is my hair. Okay. Beautiful. I love my hair. It's soft and bouncy and grows up toward the sun like a flower. I love it up or down, styled or wild. I don't care. I just want it to be free. See that? Actually, everyone loves my hair too. When I walk down the street, I hear so many compliments. It's so big. How do you get it so fluffy? I wish I had hair like that. It's great that people love my hair, but some love it so much they want to touch it. I don't like this. What does it feel like? They're so curious about my hair that they try to touch it without even asking for permission. Oh, I want to feel. Me too. I get very good at avoiding hands. I'm not sure if you can see the page, all the hands coming at her. I have to start looking for ways to hide my hair. I try blending in with the scenery, but I'm quickly spotted. Over here. I try hiding underwater, but that doesn't last long. Oh, wow, I love your hair. Got the mermaid coming at her. Can I touch it? I escape to the jungle, but the critters just can't keep their hands to themselves. Let me touch. Me first. No me. Even in the tallest castle tower, someone is always there, ready and waiting to touch my hair. Girl, your hair is fierce. No matter how far I go, it doesn't seem to matter. How do you get it so big? Finally, I find a place where no one wants to touch my hair. But after a few hours, I get lonely. I decide to go home. See her on that little boat? I try my best to ignore the attention, but as a hand sinks into my hair, wow, it's so soft. Oh, it's so soft. I decide I can't take it anymore. That's it. That's enough. Don't touch my hair. This is my hair. It's great that you love it. I love it too. But please just look and don't touch without my permission. I want you guys to look at these faces, man. I'm sorry I had to go in. I want you to see the facial expressions of the people. Can you see them? People are in shock. This lady is like offended. I don't know why she's upset, but I just wanted the faces. The next time someone wants to touch my hair, they ask, "Can I touch your hair?" I reply, "Not today." Okay. Now it feels great to walk down the street without anyone trying to touch my hair. My curls are free to reach the sun, just like a flower. Some people still ask to touch my hair, but if I say no, they listen. How are you today? Hello. But if you ask nicely, sometimes I say yes. All right. So this was a really nice little book about not touching hair. All right. Hope you're able to follow along. What did we notice? What did we see? What did we hear? What can we hold? If anyone wants to share. Okay. No one? That's okay.
Something that resonated with me was just the communication and asking before. Just it almost is like totally different, but similar in like my pregnant friends have talked about how people just reach out and grab their stomach, and how it's like, what, this is my body, this is mine, and I have not given you permission to reach out and touch me. And so but then of course, like family or friends or people who have been like, you know, this is a beautiful thing, can I touch your stomach? There's a huge difference in how you approach someone, and you are open to that communication. And I think it also has to do with remembering we're all human beings and have feelings and boundaries, and some days the answer might be yes, and some days the answer might be no.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing how some people just think they can just touch your hair without asking, and then get offended that you're offended.
Yes. Like those pictures. This lady really did a great job illustrating that. Like all the people who were just so eager to touch her hair. And look how many arms she got. You guys see how many arms she has?
Yep.
To protect herself, right? That would be called the angry Black woman, right? Yeah. She got an attitude because she don't want people touching her hair. It's her hair, right? And she's really trying to avoid it, be nice about it, but she's fed up, right? And so the illustrator gives 6 arms, is what I noticed. And then I just went through the pages. If you ever get this book, you can just see the different expressions. And I've seen those expressions too, when you have to tell somebody something and they're like, how dare you?
You know, I think what's interesting to me is, I could be wrong, I'm sure I am wrong actually, but I have never seen a Black child go up to a white child, or a woman go up to a black to a white woman and say, can I touch your hair? Now that I'm sure that there are little children who want to touch straight hair because that's what they aspire to have. If even when their parents have told them how beautiful textured hair is and how their hair is beautiful on them, they may want to touch straight hair. But I have never seen that myself personally from a child or a woman. That's interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure, but that's a good point.
It's almost kind of like when you go up to a pet to someone and say, can I pet your dog? It kind of reminds me of that.
I've heard people say that it's like a puppy, right? Because it happens so much to certain people. Like, it hasn't really happened to me, but I know people that it's happened to, and it's frustrating. You know, they feel like they kind of get anxiety, especially if people don't like people or they have like, you know, boundaries, especially right now, COVID. I don't think people are touching hair now, but you never know. Like, people have different things, and it is their hair. And I've also heard a reference to our bodies. Black people are viewed, our bodies not always viewed as our own body. Like during slavery, we didn't have rights to our own body. We didn't have rights to our own hair. And I talked about that in the first session, how our hair possibly would be shaved off. You know, if the mistress thought you might be too cute, your hair was shaved off, or maybe you had damage, had to be cut, you know? So our hair was never our own. And so now that our hair is our own, if we say you can't touch our hair, it's like people are offended, you know? I don't know. I think it's just a gamut of different things, but people should be able to say no. Of course, right? This page is interesting to me. I want to get to a quick story before we end or have more discussion, because I want to give more discussion time. But this is the page of the jungle. I don't know if you can see it, but I thought it was very interesting how she had her in the zoo, kind of like a zoo theme, where the animals were trying to touch her hair, right? Like when we go to the zoo and we see all the animals, and right? That seemed very symbolic to me, that she felt like she was an animal, caged in a zoo, and people just wanted to touch her, you know? And then for her to say, no, you can't touch me, and let me get some solace and some peace, she went to a deserted island all by herself and just sat down, because there was like nobody who could understand that she didn't want anyone touching her hair. She just sat there, right? And then she had to assimilate and get back into society, right? And then she was rowing in a boat. So there's a lot of really cool things in there that the illustrator and the author put in there, which I thought were really cool. So this is a t-shirt I found online. It says, "Thou shalt not touch my hair," like a Bible verse. Don't try me. I thought that was pretty funny. I forgot the question mark at the end, but you know, what does it mean if someone says, don't touch my hair? Why do people want to touch their hair anyway, touch someone else's hair? And I think if representation of more people, Black women, were able to be seen, right, with our hair in our natural state, I don't think people will want to touch it. It would just be like a normal part of society. This is a story I want to share before we open up the floor again, but this is anonymous hair story that I thought was really beautiful and telling about the don't touch my hair aspect. So I'm gonna go ahead and read it. So this is finally the faculty and staff of color conference was over. Even though the conference was a huge success and gave me life, I couldn't wait to go home and soak my feet. I gathered my suitcase and other items from the hotel room quickly, as I knew there would be a traffic jam trying to check out of the hotel. I failed to mention I was in Spokane, Washington, in a historic Davenport hotel. The ding of the elevator made me smile. I also felt good because the elevator was empty except for a white middle-aged woman. I was expecting a crowd of conference attendees, also rushing to check out. I spoke to the lady in the elevator and she spoke back. Uh-oh. She said that she liked my hair and I told her thank you. She then asked if she could touch it. I found myself leaning over and allowing her to touch my hair. I got off the elevator and asked myself, did I really just let that lady touch my hair? I have heard of stories of this happening. However, I felt that I would never let it happen to me. I always thought it would happen. If it happened to me, I would say something witty, such as, if I can touch yours first, or my beautician wouldn't like that. On my way to the airport, I kept thinking about what I had done. I felt like I had let my Black sisters down. It bothered me so much. I discussed it with other Black colleagues that were waiting to board the same plane. They were all very surprised that I had allowed that. I knew they would be. I think I told on myself as a form of punishment for what I had allowed. All right, so we have about 8 minutes left. I wanted to just have those two stories, but There is a couple more pieces, but open dialogue. What did you hear? What did you see from that particular story?
Seems as though she was caught off guard. And you know, you have a whole thing set up in your mind of what you would do if you were ever caught in a situation. But then when it happens, when you're not really prepared to deal with it, yeah, you just acquiesce.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seems like a small thing, right? But I love the story, the narrative, how she said, I can't believe I did that, right? Because it is something sacred. It's your hair, right? Or just how people ask, right? And maybe we comply. And this could be for boundaries. This could be for any issue, right? How someone has the audacity to ask if they could touch your hair. And then you allow them because you just, oh. And then afterwards, you kind of regret, why did I do that? I really think that is a very beautiful story. It's very telling, you know, what we endure and how we might compromise sometimes without realizing we're compromising. This is a song by Solange, Beyonce's little sister, Don't Touch My Hair. And this is one of the lyrics. Don't touch my hair when it's the feeling I wear. Don't touch my soul when it's the rhythm I know. Don't touch my crown. They say the vision I found. Don't touch what's there when it's the feelings I wear. Right? If anybody wants to comment or share anything you can hold, anything you noticed, anything you see.
Well, I think once again, what strikes me is that it's incumbent upon us, or so the dominant culture thinks, to educate them again. So it's our hair is a microcosm, really, or a metaphor for representation of education of white people again. So if I can touch your hair, I can educate myself about what it's like for you to have to do your hair, or what your hair feels like. So I'm prepared. I'm going to talk. I have always talked to my granddaughter, the one that's 27 and the one that's 13, about hair. And I want to ask them about that again recently. Has anybody wanted to touch your hair? And what would you say if somebody said to you, may I touch your hair? What are you going to say to them? And help prepare them, because the woman in Spokane, I've been in that situation at that conference before. So I just really imagined what she was going through. And when she got on the elevator and the story unfolds, she was caught off guard. I don't want my girls to be caught off guard.
Right, so it's layered, right? It can seem innocent. I touch your hair. I've asked people too, your hair is cute, right? I have to also catch myself sometimes. Uh-oh, stop sharing. I've also had to stop myself, right? Asking, can I touch your hair, or, you know, but I think it is very sacred. Hair is sacred. We talked about in the very first workshop, the symbolism of hair and what hair means to different cultures. You know, even cutting of hair could be a big conversation, right? People believe a lot of spirituality is in hair. So I know when people have dreadlocks, I've talked to them and they don't touch my hair, or if they cut their hair for dreadlocks, they say there's a lot of energy in them. And if when they cut their hair, they feel like something has left them, right? So people have different beliefs about hair. And I just think that as a society, Black people are just asked so many things of themselves, right? That hair is no different, but now we can say no, right? Because before you might be murdered, right? You might be like, I mean, you might lose your job. I mean, there are just so many consequences that could have possibly happened, right? And then the thing of just wearing your own natural hair. Just think about that. In the first session, you know, when I talked to Ashley the first time we talked, I believe it was Ashley, right? I asked her if she ever had a bad hair day. And she was like, of course I've had a bad hair day.
Yep.
I was like, really? Every day you have a bad hair day, or someone's telling you that every day your hair is bad. All right, maybe they're not telling you, you're watching TV. You're looking at your favorite books. You are talking to your friends, right? Nobody looks like you, or everything beautiful looks nothing like you, and definitely doesn't look like your hair. What happens, right? So people carry a lot of that stuff in their hair. So I think it's important to know that before you. All right, I think that's all I have for today. I think I have a couple more things, but I'm gonna Ashley did remind me that UPS is now, I think July 26th or something like that, or just last month, are allowing more hairstyles, beards, and Black women can wear their own natural hair now. I believe it's UPS. So with the Crown Act, right, in 2020, COVID season, you can now wear your own natural hair at UPS, which is good, right? So, all right, we got 2 minutes. Anybody have anything to say?
Can I tell a quick story?
Yes.
So my daughter, this happened last year. She graduated nursing school, only African-American in her class, which in and of itself is, you know, something to be proud of. And she went for a residential program. And so for her interview, she bought a straight wig and put it on because she didn't feel that she could go her authentic self. And she went in and did the interview and was on her way to the elevator, and they called her back in, and she said, oh gosh, I thought I did okay. Now they're going to ask me another question. They said, we forgot another question, and they called her back. And so she said, oh boy, you know, I thought I, you know, did pretty good, but hopefully it's a question I can ask and whatever. So when she got back in the room, they said, you know, we want to offer you the job now. We never do this, but we're offering you the job now. We don't want you to, you know, get away. And so she was excited and she took it. And she's a nurse to this day at Swedish Hospital. But she thought back in retrospect, you know, had I not done the straight wig thing, would that have worked? If I had come in there with braids, if I had come in there with twists, would that have the outcome have been the same? I just want to share that.
Thank you. That is important, right? Because that is what we carry, right? Maybe not, right? When Simone was talking about her son, she has to prepare him for, when you wear your hair like this is a possible outcome. I mean, these are the conversations that we have with ourselves. These are the conversations that we have with our kids. You know, even though I'm raising my niece's daughter, I'm like, you can't go outside with your hair looking like this. But this is her natural hair, but I'm like brushing it like my mom used to brush my hair, right? So I still have to work on my internalized beliefs about hair, right? So I appreciate everyone for coming. If you have any more conversations, hi Leslie and Joyce, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I will have more series. And once again, my name is Kiana Davis. I am looking for hair stories for my book. My website is unyieldingroots.com. I did put together like a poetry template. Now it doesn't have to be a poem, but I'm a poet, so of course I'm biased. So I'm looking for hair stories for a book I'm putting together to share these type of stories, to bring to the forefront as many places as I can what happened. You know, when we wash our hair, when we go outside, because people don't know, right?
Kiana, are you going to do a workshop specifically? Have you considered doing one specifically for girls, for young girls?
Thank you. I am looking for more places to present. So my next idea is to go to the school districts and ask if I could come into the classrooms. There is a girls group that my niece daughter has just joined. I want to partner with them as well. So I'm looking for poems and stories from women, teens, and children. So like just those three perspectives. So, but thank you. That's good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. So
if you have
this on your list of dependable strengths, Kiana.
Oh yeah. What could this go under? What could I say?
Well, we can talk later.
Amazing. Hold on. Sharon teaches an amazing dependable strengths workshop. She's supposed to be training me, by the way. And it's a good time during COVID season to train me, by the way. Just plug in. And it was really great about your story. This is what I remember. How to sell yourself, how to give examples, how to use your strengths in an interview or when you're talking to people networking, right? So
Nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.